Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between Next Storm and Argos Xenix here on Metalopolis. Storm spawning as the blue Terran player on the south side of the map at what I'll call the 6 o'clock position. Meanwhile, we have Argos Xenix spawning at the 12 o'clock position as the red Zerg. Now, unfortunately, I did cast about 90% of this game, and then poof, a power outage in my neighborhood. They had to shut down the power to replace a couple transformers, and yeah. I'm sure you guys can tell this game is going to be a rather long one as you guys are buffering and watching this. So it was a really interesting matchup, and it was a lot of fun to cast. It was about 2 hours ago since I did watch the original game, so hopefully I won't remember too much. Therefore, I'll keep track of the mini-map as opposed to just watching all the action on the screen. So Next Storm opening up with a supply depot over here. Argos gonna do his characteristic move with a drone. Instead of making a straight trip over, comes up this ramp here, and then it looks like it's coming in from around the side. So it almost looks like it is not an ally spawn, and then hopefully the Terran player who normally builds barracks and supply depots here will see the drone coming in from this angle and then try to confuse your opponent. So there you see the drone trying to trick a Terran player that didn't spawn there, and now Argos does know that this is going to in fact be a cross spawn. So with that, Argos feels pretty safe in throwing down a 15 hatchery and getting a very strong economic lead. Now back for Next Storm. Next Storm is going to look up this ramp, take a quick look around, see that there's pretty much nothing going on, and then continue on his merry way. What you're also going to notice is that he doesn't have a refinery yet. Without a refinery, he's either going to be going for mass barracks for a very aggressive push with Marines, or he's going to try to do an expansion of his own. As soon as he sees that there is this hatchery down here, he's most likely going to commit, as I've already seen this game, to a command center, and he's going to try to keep up with the Zerg expansions. Now what this is going to allow Argos to do, though, it's going to allow Argos to also power drone, knowing that his opponent is not able to macro up a very large army. He does not have to train up any real units. He can just build drones all he wants. 8 drones a minute off of 8 drones a minute off of 2 hatcheries, slightly faster than the command center. I think the 2 command centers can probably build around 7. You can now see Argos trying to build an extractor here, and now forcing some SCVs to come off the mineral line. I'm not sure if I agree with this. What this does end up happening, or what ends up happening with this in particular, is when you bring over a lot of SCVs, you lose a lot of minerals in trying to deny that extractor. That extractor is rather annoying, but at the same time, you probably lost about 50 to 75 minerals just trying to destroy that extractor. Back over here, we do have a command center currently being built, and now Next Storm is going to try to play and keep up in this economic game. 1 spine crawler is all he's going to really try to produce and train in order to hold off any attackers. Also, perhaps two pairs of Zerglings, so 4 Zerglings in total, in order to keep track of good sighting. Marines now making their way out, looking to see if there are any overlords so that he can shoot down. Argos being very careful in making sure that this one overlord is going to position itself over here out of the range of any Marines and be able to scout out any drops if they try to come in from that direction. Also be able to see if there is an extractor, or excuse me, a refinery down on the Vespine Geyser. Extractor now coming into play, layer now being upgraded already to tier 2. So going for a very fast tier 2 here on Metalopolis. He's teching to tier 2 before he's even going into Queens. So that is a very unusual strategy. I've never seen tech to tier 2 before Queens, as Queens are very critical in order to be able to train up a lot of drones. But also Argos doesn't have the economy in order to really power drone just quite yet anyways. One or two Reapers right now in the base would have caused a nightmare for Argos, but Argos, knowing that there wasn't any early gas, knows that the chances of any Reapers coming into the base is next to none as this game moves along. So you can see finally a tech lab being attached over here onto this barracks here, and it looks like, based upon the buildings, he is not building an additional tech lab or reactor here, most likely just mass Marines. He is continuing to train up more and more SCVs. I'm taking a look at the unit count, 25 SCVs compared to 28 drones. And Next Storm is probably a little bit ahead, no, actually a little bit behind, because he is mining off of only 8 mineral patches instead of 16. So even though there are some SCV, or there are some mules in play. Those mules are not able to compensate for the fact that Argos does have more mineral patches to mine from. Back here, a starport is also coming in. We see a reactor coming in online for that one factory. The factory probably going to do a little bit of a reactor swap with that starport. Starport will then be able to start double training medevacs, double training Vikings, as we are now going into a factory, a tech lab on that factory, allowing for the production of siege tanks or perhaps even Thors. Back in the base, we now see a Spire nearing completion, and now Argos does not have that much gas. He's only sitting on about 300 gas at the 8-minute mark. He's not going to be able to queue that many Mutalisks into the air, but he will be able to train up about 4 Mutalisks every minute as soon as he lays down 2 additional extractors. 4 Mutalisks a minute, you go into 5-6 minutes of play, and then you have one full control group of Mutalisks, and that is very difficult to deal with. You can see next Storm continue to just train up more and more Marines, as my computer never lags. Hopefully that power outage while I was casting last time didn't harm my computer. Otherwise, yeah, it's going to be difficult to try to justify another crazy expense in order to keep on casting. Anyways, medevacs now making their way out, and will be able to come in just a moment. But there is an Overlord, and the Overlord does spot those 2 medevacs, so the medevacs will not be able to get off that drop nearly as well, as those Zerglings are not going to simply come down to try to intercept it. Production-wise, we do have a couple Mutalisks which will be coming out, and the Mutalisks are now going to be able to focus down some of those medevacs. The medevacs need to run, and now Marines perhaps will drop, dropping onto the ground, being able to force those Mutalisks away, and those Mutalisks, however, with those Zerglings, able to stop that drop from really occurring. The Baneling movement speed upgrade is now being researched as well, in addition to the Zerg melee attacks. So those Zerglings are going to be able to deal a lot of damage very, very easily. Marines now making a long trek home, as we have an engineering bay currently being trained or being built for most likely the level 1 weapons and armor upgrades, perhaps even some missile turrets, as we are getting some Mutalisks. Now that Argos knows that it is going to be 2 bases versus 2 bases, he's setting up a hatchery of his own, allowing him to keep up in this economic game. He doesn't want to be down on hatcheries, as the hatchery both allows you to mine minerals and also produce units. Mutalisks continuing to just wander around the map, trying to get a lot of map presence. Storm pretty comfortable sitting on 2 base play right now, and just sitting back, relaxing, waiting for Argos to make his move. There are 4 Mutalisks now. The 4 Mutalisks able to get off. Oh, no, unable to shoot down that one low hit point Marine after suffering a lot of damage across 2 of those Mutalisks. Hatchery about halfway done. And as this game continues, now Storm gonna do a good job getting that combat shield, and now going for multiple reactors on these barracks. This is very important to note the number of production buildings that Storm has. Off of 2 base play, you're able to support 7 production buildings, constantly training units. So if you ever feel like your opponent has a larger army, it is most likely because it's most likely because they out macro you, and they're able to train up more units. Also, at the end of a fight, when you're trying to replenish your units and you have a larger cache of minerals, you can mineral dump a lot of minerals into these reactors into these reactor barracks, and then just produce and retrain up a very large army indeed. So yeah, so 7 production buildings. This is one of the things I personally still need to work on, as I often forget to get a lot of production buildings, and then it just really hurts me in the end game. Back over here, creep tumor now coming in. We now have 3 queens, so it's going to be 3 queens across 3 hatcheries, as now a creep highway is starting to be built. We are getting the Carapace upgrade, and also the more Mutalisks are being trained. So a lot of Zerglings hiding out over here, as we have Mutalisks just wandering around the map. Storm's just still sitting on 1 base play, and at some point he needs to take up a 3rd base. If he doesn't, the Zerg is going to be able to out macro him, and you never want to try to out macro a Zerg, especially if his name is Argos, as Argos is just known for queuing up a whole bunch of units and staying on top of his spawn larva. If you look at all of the queens right now, all the queens are relatively low on energy, and will stay that way. And there's only 1 creep tumor, or 1 set of creep tumors on the map so far. So another free queen now trying to lay down creep tumors, as a battle now going on over here. Zerglings trying to figure out where they can fight. Perhaps they'll be able to pick off some of those Marines. No, unable to pick those off, as there are Zerglings over here. The Zerglings now going to run straight into this group here. This is not a smart battle for Argos. Argos needs to run away. The siege tanks, able to get off 2 to 3 critical blasts, burning some of those Marines up. And now the Zerglings are in full retreat. 34 Zerglings now in production, with more Banelings being trained up, and now level 1 Carapace upgrades for those Mutalisks in order to absorb a lot of the damage from those Marines. Marines are now dealing 7 damage per attack until those Mutalisks actually get that armor, and now in comes perhaps a little bit of a trade here. Zerglings now trying to run around. It looks as though the siege tanks are able to one-shot and blast many of those Zerglings, as the Zerglings do not have armor upgrades. Marines are now making their way in. Siege tanks now bringing up the rear as the Marines are now trying to figure out what they can do. There are a lot of Banelings in this battle, and now the Banelings are going to be able to melt a lot of this here and killing so many of those Marines. Marines just dying back and forth, and now the Mutalisks coming in from behind, cleaning up the rest of the units. And taking a look at the losses, Argos has lost more, but by taking down both of these medevacs, he would actually get into the lead. And leaving this one medevac alone, not quite sure why the Mutalisks are not giving chase. Would have been easily able to take down those units there. Production-wise, more Banelings are being trained up, more Mutalisks being added, more 11 drones, 12 drones now being trained as well. So Argos now definitely power droning, getting up to 55 drones there, and trying to get back into this game after, but kind of exchanging armies. Argos did and was on the winning end of that last engagement, but we'll see how this game continues, especially as we now have a command center being built down by Next Storm. Wants to set up this high ground expansion over here on the bottom right hand side of the map, enabling him to run off of 3 bases as well. This is the situation in the game where Zerg has a difficult time trying to take a 4th base. If you try to take this expansion here, the Terran player can easily start putting pressure into this location. It almost feels a little bit out of the way. Same thing with this high yield mineral expansion, but this does keep your base a little bit tighter, and you're able to do a little bit more. Mutalisks now wandering around the map. Perhaps they'll be able to get some damage on some units. It doesn't look like they're going to try to suicide. Oh, there is one medevac, and that medevac able to fly away. Are the Mutalisks going to be able to shoot down that medevac there? The medevac now dropping off some of those Marines. The looks of the medevac is already losing many of those units, and now the Marines able to get a couple shot in the back. However, 21 Mutalisks able to quickly finish off those 4 Marines, even though Marines counter Mutalisks. The sheer army size is more than enough. Banelings, and now the Zerg level 2 weapons attack, so those Banelings now will be dealing, what, I believe 41 damage per attack, which is a very large number, especially against tightly grouped together Marines. Marines are going to just simply melt if they use a stim pack. Near dead if a Baneling blows up anywhere near them, as Banelings have full splash damage, unlike Siege Tanks. Siege Tanks do not have full splash damage on anything that takes splash damage. Siege Tanks now moving out here, and now down over here. There are double bunkers here as well, but nothing in the bunkers, so I'm curious as to why Storm even has them, as we now have a battle going on over here at the natural expansion. The natural expansion is going to get shut down. Upgrading to a planetary fortress not possible, as the Zerglings now able to swarm down and take down this missile turret. So the base, the expansion, was already destroyed, and now Next Storm a little bit of trouble trying to fight back against 4 hatcheries off of 3 bases. The main mineral patches have nearly been mined out already. We do have the double upgrades now coming underway from the engineering base. We will have 2-2 upgrades on those units. Mutalisks now continuing to fly around the map, perhaps trying to poke off more units. Siege Tanks sieging up and going to be able to just take down multiple Zerglings there. Marines now on the move, continuing to push their way off north to the north side of the map. There is a Queen now coming down over here. The Queen going to quickly get sniped though, as she tries to lay down a creep tumor, going to get taken down, and now Scanner Ship's going to reveal a lot of these creep tumors along the ground, preventing any faster movement speed upgrade for those Banelings. Those Banelings now hiding off over here. Only 4 of them want to try to suicide and take down as many Marines as possible. Marines now coming over here. Siege Tanks, Medevacs now coming in. Zerglings now coming in as well. But both sides, it is becoming a base race. We now have a large number of Mutalisks, and now SCVs also joining in on the fight. So we have a swarm of Mutalisks here against a Marine and Siege Tank army. So Marine Tank now slowly pushing their way through, taking down the layer. Spire level 2 tech is almost completed. Level 2 attack upgrades, but it doesn't look like it's going to be able to complete at all. Meanwhile, the engineering base about to complete the level 2-2 upgrades, and that is going to be huge. Moving on, those Marines are going to be even more powerful there, getting 2-2 upgrades. Now the Mutalisks going after the command center. One command center has been taken down, and it doesn't look like any... Oh wait, SCV is now trying to return back to this army, but Banelings coming in to melt all of those SCVs. SCVs now simply getting destroyed, and now there are no SCVs left at all. Next, only has a command center to his name. He needs to try to train up some SCVs as this standing army of Marines and tanks are now making their way out. This orbital command needs to lift off, perhaps and try to mine some more minerals somewhere else. It is going to be a sitting target as there are Zerglings inside the base now. Back over here, siege tanks now trying to make their way in. There are a large number of Mutalisks. The Mutalisks need to pick their fight very carefully. Now going to come around the backside and now go after siege tanks. Siege tanks are going to take a lot of damage as those Marines are trying to run away and focusing from the banelings as well. And now the Mutalisks once again backing off. Marines now trying to swarm in. Once again, a large number of Mutalisks still in the air as the drones now trying to run away. Both hatcheries are going to get shut down in just a moment unless the Mutalisks are able to pick apart more of these siege tanks, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case as the siege tanks are now within close proximity of those Marines consistently. Another siege tank was picked off, however, but I believe the Marines with 2-2 upgrades are going to have no problem shutting down this hatchery. We now have multiple Zerglings picking apart these starports here. They could lift off, but by lifting off, it would just make them easier targets for the Mutalisks as the Zerglings would then focus on that missile turret on the ground. Now, there's not that many buildings left at all for Storm or for Argos. This is a true base race. Terran normally has a better chance in base races as we are now down to 21 Mutalisks versus 22 Marines and 3 Medevacs. If those Mutalisks are able to get some splash damage across the Medevacs, that would help him out. Oh, could have taken down 2 of those Medevacs very, very easily. Not quite sure why he didn't, as that one siege tank was taken down over there. We still have a couple queens and a lot of drones. We are currently sitting on 479 minerals, so Argos can rebuild and try to get back into this game. The Zerglings are still trying to finish off multiple units. Storm deciding to train up more Hellions and Marines to add to this army as the Marines are looking for a hatchery. There is a hatchery now being built over here. Drones now hiding off in the vents in multiple locations, so these drones can build buildings. One of the benefits for Zerg, though, is that the Zerg extractor only costs 25 minerals. So what Argos, even though Argos only has 454 minerals left, he can still build about, what is that, 10? What, 25? No, he can still build about almost 20 extractors, or actually, yeah, about 20 extractors, which is a lot of extractors to try to find across this map here. There are Marines coming in to shut down the last of these Zerglings. Mutalisks now coming in, and the Mutalisks are going to be able to finish off the rest of these Marines. The Mutalisks do naturally regenerate hit points. The Marines are now trying to look for it to see who can win. We can see that the Marines and the Medevacs are the smaller army in this particular instance against the 21 Mutalisks and a couple Zerglings. But in terms of buildings and bases, Storm is still in a little bit of trouble. Storm perhaps should just try to stay close to his base and try to rebuild. I think if he is able to rebuild at this point, because there is a hatchery in play by Argos. As soon as this hatchery is shut down and he starts to be able to reveal his opponent, he should then try to guard his expansion over here. Now back over here, the Mutalisks now looking for another command center. The command center is still over here, and that's the reason why his opponent is not revealed. There is only one building left. After these 2 buildings, there's only going to be 1 building left from that Terran player, and I think that is it. Storm now 694 hit points away from loss, but now in comes this hatchery. This hatchery is now destroyed, wasn't canceled in time. The Marines are able to stim it down and shoot it down. There it goes, but there is an extractor over here. So 1 extractor has been built, and now this extractor is the only thing keeping Argos in this game. There are still a lot of larvae here, but I don't think he's going to really do anything much with them, as there are now drones and Zerglings. Zerglings were able to get the orbital command to be on fire. So this orbital command now down to 380 hit points as the Mutalisks are going to finish this off and perhaps start to reveal. Multiple supply depots now coming in from Storm. Storm trying to stay in this game as there is currently 2 supply depots. Those supply depots cannot be built on creep, so that's going to make it a little bit more difficult. Storm still has 443 minerals, so he still can build another command center. That should help him out, but with only 1 SCV, it will take him quite a long time to get back into this game. And now Storm is being revealed. 1 supply depot, that is all that is left, and now another command center being built in the center of the map, and that is it. So Argos is currently being revealed, and so is Storm. Storm only has 1 building left that is currently being built, but I do not think Argos is going to look in that location. And you can see that the Zergling does not see this 1 building off in that place right there, as the Marines are now looking for another extractor. There's 1 extractor right there. As soon as this extractor starts to get destroyed, I believe another one will pop up. Yes, another extractor being built over here by Argos. So Argos just making it very difficult for him to get finished off by Storm. There are still a lot of Mutalisks in the air, and the Mutalisks going to be able to pick off the medevacs. Oh, three of the medevacs now gone. The last medevac may get shot down. No, not shot down, but that is going to be a problem as those Marines can no longer use Stim Pack as sparingly as they did before. And they're not going to be able to give chase as those Mutalisks are going to try to get more damage. There is still one Zergling over here. There is still an Extractor here. And the Zerglings are just frantically looking where exactly that command center could possibly be. I do not think he knows where that is just quite yet. The Marines are now stimmed, trying to run back over here to this location. There is one SCV, and this one SCV is going to have a very, very bad day trying to mine minerals out of this location here. The Mutalist finally sees, I believe the Mutalist finally sees, no, he still doesn't see the command center. The command center now making their way off into this location. The Mutalist trying to dance back and forth. There is one Extractor, and now the Mutalist, Mutalist is playing a game of chicken against the Gauss rifles of Marines. 1,200 or what, 24 Marines versus 21 Mutalisks. The game is still going back and forth. There is an Extractor. There's still enough drones to build 3 more Extractors, so it is going to take a little bit of time. The Mutalist now perhaps going to be able to back off and get some damage onto that command center, perhaps get some chain damage. If he's able to chain damage onto those Marines, that would help him out. And by softening up many of those Marines. Do we have a Baneling's Nest? I do not believe so. The Zerglings sitting at 79 minerals, and now in come drones. So this is going to be an all-out effort now. There is still a couple Overlords here, and now some more drones coming into this last fight. I don't think Storm realizes how many drones are still left. Argos sitting on an 89 population versus 25. The Marines are upgraded too, so that will help out tremendously. There is another Extractor being built. Yeah, another Extractor being built over here. So 2 Extractors being built, splitting apart the command center. Oh, getting some splash damage from that command center, and now they can just dance around and get more damage onto those units. So the Mutalisks can just come back over here, get some damage onto that supply depot, and then pull back once again. So it is going to be a drone Marine Zergling push against a large army of Marines. So yeah, a large army, and then in comes down goes the SCV. So the SCV is now taken down. Storm has no way to mine any additional minerals, doesn't have a way to upgrade to an orbital command, and now the command center is on the move. I'm not exactly sure what he can do at all, making it even more difficult. We have drones over here though, and Marines here, so trying to stay all together. And now in come the Mutalisks, in come the drones. Drones are now fighting against the rest of the units, joining in on the fight. The Mutalisks, however, getting a lot of splash damage. Mutalisks should be able to win out on that fight. And wow, the final game is going to be 1 command center versus 2 Extractors, and Storm is going to lose the game by losing all of his buildings. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between Next Storm and Argos Xenix here on Metalopolis.